We have with us His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Maliki, Ambassador of His Majesty, the King of Morocco in India. Along with him on stage, we also have Mr. Mohan Suresh, Director, HCCD. The Ambassador, Mr. Mohammed Maliki, has jurisdiction over 5 countries. He is based in New Delhi. For the other countries, he is in charge of Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives and Bhutan. So, I now call upon Mr. Mohan Suresh, Director, HCCD, to address all of you.
Nana Mohan Suresh Shankar, one of the senior post, last 14 years for Honorary Consulate. As of now, and the Deputy Chairman of Bangalore, Karnataka Honorary Consuls Association. It is called HCCD. And the All India HCCD Director and Treasurer. First of all, I want to thank Excellency to open a Honorary Consul office in Bangalore and making a very dynamic person. Honorary Donors MD, Mr. Pratap Kamath as a Honorary Consul of Morocco. Morocco is a very beautiful country. I visited it 2-3 times. 10 years in the business of Morocco. Morocco, African country, only whole European country. You don't feel that you are in Africa. European style, European culture, European dressing style, but they have bullet train. I have traveled in the bullet train in Morocco. So Morocco was the beautiful destination. Tata presence is there, many minor presence is there, car manufacturing unit is there. Excellency will explain to you. So, Honorary Consul ಈಗ ನಾವು 30 ಜನ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿದೆ. Mr. Pratap Kamath, 31st Honorary Consul in Bangalore. So once again I thank Ambassador for appointing him. And India with the Morocco relationship, I think Kamath will also help Ambassador who was here for 5 years. 5 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಈ Ambassador ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, one of the senior most Ambassador. And very dynamic, and Government of India respects him a lot, especially our President and Prime Minister Modi ji. Hello. Prime Minister Modi ji, on the personal friend of Ambassador. Our India and Morocco relationship, business, cultural, political relationship ke bada important hai. Honorary Consul role in that. We are also like Ambassador except political, cultural, tourism, education, and all these activities we will be helping Ambassador for developing both the interaction between both the countries. So once again I thank Excellency for opening the Consul office here and making a very dynamic youngster as a Honorary Consul. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction on Honorary Consul. Thank you, Mr. Mohan Suresh. Thank you very much. We are now calling Morocco in India to speak a few words and address the media. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Do you mind if I take these? Yes. Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello? Yes. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Yalla Ragu, Namaskara. To everybody here, it's a delight first to be here. And I have always had a special feeling towards the media because I tell it's the easiest but the most difficult way to convey a voice of a person, but also the voice of the writings, and then also to clear and then show to the media and then the readers. So you are a medium between the person who wants to convey an idea and the others. And then your role is quite important, and for those reasons I prefer to stand in respect of all of you instead of sitting and then addressing you. Maybe if you ask me where I should start, it will be always a difficult question to ask, because my job is to promote my country, and then that's the easiest way for most of people, which is not, because at a certain stage you don't know how far your love would go, and then what is the limit of telling what exactly happens, what is exactly your country, and then what you want to project, and then maybe giving some more fallacious ideas. So it's a very sharp edge where you will have to decide by yourself. But I probably, to set the tone of our discussion today, of our interaction today, is to thank you sincerely for having time and to come and then be present in this media. I think this is the 7th time I have come to Bengaluru for the last 2 years, which is the highest number of my visits to any city in India. And of course that is for good reason, because Karnataka first is a dynamic state. It's becoming quite important in the exchequer of India. But it's a state which could be set as an example for many others, because it brings quite a lot of added value and an international interest. So maybe I will clear a little bit and give you a few facts about Morocco as a country. Morocco is an old nation of not less than 12 centuries and a half. It's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, nation states in the world. Its system is constitutional monarchy with the parliament with 2 houses. But it also has dynasties without stop since the 8th century. Second element which is quite important and to be highlighted here, it has contributed tremendously to the making of mankind through cultures, through religion, through philosophy, through mathematics. And then the oldest functional university that's still giving diplomas in the world exists in the city of Fez, which is the oldest city. We call it Medina. That is the oldest Medina that happens. It was built by a lady in the 8th century. So it's also another example of the importance of women in our culture, in our society. Third element, the oldest medicine and veterinary degree was given in this university. Fourth important thing is that it has, not like any other countries, 5 imperial cities, with one has gone because of some earthquake. So the dynasties used to choose different places, different cities, and then develop equally the region. That's why when Mr. Mohan was speaking about his visits to Morocco and then how it was developed, it's because these dynasties used to develop the different cities and around these cities differently. It's also #1 destination in tourism. In 2019, we crossed 13.5 million tourists, which is literally 1/3 of the population. So I'll give you a small anecdote which happened to me in Mumbai. It was in 2018. I was sitting with a good number of travel agents, international travel agents, and Indian travel agents. And then when I was talking about the figures, I told them at that time we received more than 12 million tourists, and people really didn't move, didn't feel anything, didn't understand the importance of that figure for us at least. So I told them I can understand that millions are very cheap in India because quite a lot of millions are there. But then I also have very good news for you. Imagine that I heard that India will be receiving 420 million tourists this year. So they were laughing at each other, say, how come we know that we don't receive more than 7 to 8 million maximum? I told them, well, 420 exactly proportionally what Morocco receives. It's a 36 million country population, and it's receiving more than 12 points up, so it's 100 population. At that time, they started to look at the idea differently, proportionally speaking. Then one important also element is the location of Morocco is very important and very strategic because it is exactly at the center of many things. It's the nearest point from Africa towards Europe, it's 14 kilometers. It's the nearest point to the United States from Africa and the Arab world because it's a 5 hours flight towards New York. It's also the extreme west of the Arab and Muslim world. And above all, it has like the roots of all these components, the roots of African, Islamic, Arabic, but also breeding towards Europeans. That's what late His Majesty said. Morocco is like a tree which roots are in Africa, but which branches breed from Europe. So we have that very good combination, and then where the tolerance is one of the essential elements that we are there to keep. That religion is a personal matter, and then nobody has the right to judge anybody else, and then that the part of religion is a very small part of the behavior for mankind. And then people are very keen to keep this, very keen to keep the freedom of choice, and very keen to move. In fact, the king of Morocco is what we call the commander of the believers. So he is both the commander religiously of the Muslims, the Jewish community, and then also for the Christians and whoever. So he is above religion, and he represents, in fact, he guarantees also the freedom of the choice for everybody, whatever religion they may be. It's a phenomenon, easy phenomenon also why that relations we still have with the Jewish community, where we believe they have more than 1.2 million Moroccan origin people in Israel, which are still keeping their nationality as Moroccans. So it's somehow an answer to many of the queries which I have received lately. How come that Morocco is quite an important part in Israel? So I'm telling you that in many of the governments you would at least find 4 to 5 to 6 members who are originated from Morocco. There are a few things which, of course, definitely you would ask, which I will leave for the time being, but I'll tell you why did we choose to have a honorary council in Kannada. I believe there is a logic, there is a time for everything to happen. I mean, when it happens for a certain reason, at a certain time, at a timely time. I think the relations between Morocco and then India, if they are confined to modern calculations or modern barometers, I would say it's in the 50s. But who of us doesn't know or hasn't read about Ibn Battuta? Who is from there? So Ibn Battuta, who came here, who was the Qadi of India for a few years, who stayed in India for 13 years, who was also invested by a diplomatic mission by the Mughal at the time, ruler bin Tughlaq, and then it means that our relations with this part of the world goes to centuries back. Because Ibn Battuta only wrote what he did. Or to be very accurate, he was instructed by His Majesty the Sultan to tell his stories to somebody to record them. But where are the other stories that were not recorded? He couldn't have been alone. And then if you go to this part, for instance, of the Mandate, there is one person who came in the 11th century, in the 12th century, at exactly 1153. And then he brought there, and then it was through him that the Maldives changed their religion. So that's another part of it. If you go also to Sri Lanka, the community there all pretend to be from Morocco. They are called the Maraka. And then they still have the Moroccan fairs, what you call the cap and the news. So I think the connection between Morocco and this part of the world has always been very important. But some have been reported, recorded, but others wouldn't and were not recorded. Just to tell you that the first roads of the spice road between Kerala and Marrakesh was as back as the 13th and 14th century. But then if you look at it the other way around, it means that it was a very strong empire, that they will have very good sailors, that they were marching as merchants in the world, that they were moving across the continents and across also the seas. Taking it very recently, I think the importance of Morocco to India is quite visible when it comes to food security. So we are one of the largest providers of fertilizers and phosphates. And if you have followed the news the last week or 10 days back, the Minister of Health and Fertilizers visited Morocco, and then there was a very big deal, and then few MOUs were signed to provide something like 1.7 million metric tons of fertilizers and phosphate derivatives to India. India is also receiving the largest public Moroccan investments in Asia through the fertilizers. I think we have like three joint ventures here, and then one more in Morocco. And I believe that few things are coming. But the amazing and then good part about all these things is that in the last 5 years, our balance of trade, or our trade, has tripled from 1.2 billion to $3.2 billion, which is not a small amount given the distance between the two countries, but also the amount of investments. Second revealing element, in 2015 we used to have between 12 to 13 Indian companies operating in Morocco, and now there are more than 41 companies. And then the interest is quite growing by even bigger conglomerates, especially in the coming sectors like energy. Because we are doing renewables extremely good. In fact, in the energy mix of Morocco, 42% are completely renewable. We started earlier than many countries because of the social responsibility that we have towards the community, that we need to move from the old energy matters to the new ones. Other element probably to highlight is when you find greater interest in a country, you definitely need to outreach and then expand your presence, diplomatic and consular presence. And India is not a country alone, but it is a continent in a federation. So there are so many opportunities that are elsewhere in other places. So what we did, we renewed our honorary consulate in Mumbai. Then we added 2 years back or 3 years back another one in Kolkata. And definitely it was a natural choice, a natural development of our relations to expand also this presence by finding a good person to represent the interests of the two countries in this part of the world, because you simply cannot skip Bangalore and the development it's witnessing, but also the outreach to new development sectors, to new important sectors like the SMEs, like the new startups, like the energy, like aeronautics, like defense industry, but also and above all the IT sectors, outsourcing, which is quite important. I'm skipping, you can also add the infrastructure, you can so many ways. But all these elements are interesting in the sense that we have growing interest from Morocco, but also growing interest from India. So we needed to make a link, and then I think Mohan spoke a little bit of the Honorary Council, but probably I would add 2 or 3 elements which are important for an Honorary Council. So an Honorary Council is generally a person who is from the country, but he can also be from a different country. But he is not a career diplomat that the country decides to appoint to safeguard the interests of both the, for instance in our case, the interests of both the Moroccans and then the Indians. In the Indians, by providing them information, necessary information, by facilitating for them the events, by probably also helping into organizing cultural visits, economic visits, business delegations, parliamentary relations. He can also be quite important in matching the relations in the terms of state-level parliamentarians, state-level administrative, other things. So he is quite important as a person, and I'm happy to visit Bangalore after the completion of all administrative and then all the diplomatic clearances, also the Ministry of Interior clearances, to appoint Mr. Dr. Pratap Kamath today as the new man of Morocco and also of India. And then always preserve and then safeguard and then also defend the interests of both the countries. And then we are happy that he embarks with us in this journey, and I am quite proud to find the right person.
Thank you, Excellency.
Who proved to be a unconditional lover for his country and also by extension to his new adopted country. And then I was laughing yesterday and then joking with him, say that nobody now calls me my name Kamath, but they call me Pratap Morocco Pratap. So in fact, yes, it's important that he comes in a timely manner where Morocco is witnessing quite a tremendous development, and probably the World Cup finals was only one facet of these elements. It didn't come from nowhere, but there was a steady job which has been done by the team. The last but not least, because I want to leave you for some questions if you want to put, is I'm extremely happy to see these developments being crowned by the expansion of diplomatic and then consular presence of the Kingdom of Morocco. I'm also quite happy to make him embark into this journey with us and then to looking into ways of benefiting both countries. So it's not necessarily he represents my country here differently, but also I am repeating it. He also should look from the interest of the point of view of Karnataka towards Morocco. And then once again, I thank you all for being here today, and I am open to any question without limits. And then I'm quite happy that the number is quite very impressive. This also shows a little bit of the interest of the country, of you to know Morocco and then to know what's going on, and probably to make known the event which happened officially 2 days back. Once again, thank you so much, and then please, I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for sharing a very insightful.
ಅಂಬಾಸಿಡರ್ ಆಗಿರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಜನತೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಾ ಖುಷಿ ಪಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಜನತೆಗೆ ಕೂಡ ತುಂಬಾ ಉಪಯೋಗಗಳಾಗ್ತವೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಯಾವ ತರ ನಾವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಸರ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ?
ಈ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ನಾನು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ, he will be able to handle it, but primarily bilateral relations, because ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ambassador ಹೇಳಿದಂಗೆ there is a lot of trade and economic activity already happening between both the countries. 2015 ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ I think less than 10-11 countries ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು, ಈಗ it has gone up 3 times. There are more than 41 companies who have invested and are having relations with Morocco. So likewise, I am looking at ensuring more investment happens from both sides. So apart from that, bilateral relations plus nama tourism ಗೆ ambassador ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, one of the largest and the most popular country tourism ಗೆ ಇರೋದು Morocco, and it has several cities which are of historical significance, as well as for it's a family destination to visit. But there are several other meetings which need to be facilitated between the governments. I hope I am able to fulfill the requirements of both the countries and fit in there.
ವೆಟರ್ನರಿ ಆಗಲಿ, ವ್ಯವಸಾಯ ಆಗಲಿ, ಪಶು ಸಂಗೋಪನೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗಾಗಿ ರೈತರು ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸರ್, ಎರಡನೇದು ನೀವು ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಇವಾಗ ಕಂಪ್ನೀಸ್ ಇವು ಬರ್ತವೆ ಅಂತ, ಬಟ್ ಅನ್ಎಜುಕೇಟೆಡ್ಸು ಅರ್ಧ ಓದಿರೋರು ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳ ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರಿಗಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬೇರೆ ತರ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ.
ಖಂಡಿತ your inputs are taken. I will make a note. Yes, definitely. ನೀವು ಹೇಳೋದು ವೆರಿ ವ್ಯಾಲಿಡ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್.
PUC 10th ಡ್ರಾಪ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ.
ಖಂಡಿತ ಮೇಡಮ್, ನೋಟೆಡ್, your point very well noted. Ambassador one point mention ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
I will probably give you one important information which I want you to make a big headlines. Starting from the 10th of January, we put India into the e-visa system. 2 months back, it was with some conditions like having visa from UK, from US, from Schengen, from Canada, from Australia, whatever. But from the 10th of January, only presentation, the Indian passports will give you access to e-visa. So this is a very important milestone, very important development in terms of tourism, because we found that so many Indians, when they are traveling, they want to go for 2 or 3 days to this mesmerizing country, which is the case, but they would find themselves faced with the hurdles of the visas, and then we know from both sides what are the hurdles. So this is a very good gesture from a developing country to a developing country. That's where also we can find, that's also where we can show that our population matters for both of us. It's not an easy thing to open it for 1.4 billion, but I think we have always the trust that when you love, when you like, you don't count. So we did it for India, and we didn't do it for many countries, just because of the trend, the momentum they were going. I believe they want to pick up a little bit about the fertilizers. If I can understand a little Bangalore. So are you interested exactly where in the amount of? I can tell you that last year we exported something around 2 billion. Yeah. So I think last year like $2 billion for fertilizers were transiting coming from Morocco. But one thing is very important, I think. We have this leading worldwide phosphate fertilizers company. And then, as you all know, or probably you don't know, we have the largest world reserve of phosphates. It's like 70 to 72% of world reserves of phosphates are in Morocco, which could be sufficient for the next 400 years to all humanity. Also, the fertilizers are turning green, which is because it's also very polluting industry, but in the next few years it will be completely out of renewable energies. And I believe that there is the OCP Foundation, they subsidized something like 39,000 Indian farmers, analyzing their soil, giving them subsidies for the fertilizer. Huh? My pleasure. But I think we thought that was the social responsibility of the company towards the farmers. And then in fact, one important element is that the food security is an essential part, and then during the COVID, everybody has known that finally you cannot eat metals, or you cannot eat processed things, but you need first of all to avoid falling into hunger and then dependence. So the role of fertilizers is quite important, because the next battle will be the food security and then the water to provide for the agriculture. And I think in that matter, India and Morocco are quite conscious and quite aware that this is a domain they shouldn't let it go. Because when we decided to, few decades back, it was a decision not based on trade, it was based on the relations and the strength we want to build and the governments they used to have. So it was not a commercial-based decision. It was based on helping and engaging with India to reach food security. Everybody knows that India, before its food security sufficiency, is not the same India without security sufficiency.
So you had said that there is no necessity of visa, is it?
No, there is an
No,
e-visa.
there is e-visa. That is, you access by website and then a request for the visa. If you find the requirements, then you will get it in 72 hours, and then you can go without coming to the embassy. I am no longer useful for you.
So there is no need of interviews and other things.
It's based only on the documents. Of course, if you have an important visa, it always helps you to get in it quickly. But then the main thing is that it's based on the requirements which are needed, and then it's between you and the computer, and then the other person who will decide.
No, there is only tourist visa. How you do?
Yeah.
E-visa.
E-visa. There will always be some visas which should be given by the embassy itself. When it comes to permit visa, work visa, those visas which you need to build your documents when you are there. It's quite important. Yes.
Perhaps, even in Karnataka, we have so many temples are there. Is there anything happening from the embassy side where we can showcase the art main places to the world?
Definitely. Noted, well noted. We are trying to go to make an effort. I think, as I said, tourism ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದೆ ನಾನು. So this is a very important aspect what we have shared. We definitely are going to look into it and make sure that there is more done in this particular aspect. Thank you.
If you could encourage us to convince the air companies to have direct flights, there will be definitely more exchange between people to people, and actually we are one of the richest countries. Let me tell you one small thing. As people sometimes, we demean the values of our countries and we don't know what is the value of our countries. Suppose something happens, which I wish and I hope it will not happen, but by the mean that all the borders will be closed. Only very few countries can live by their own. They have their own history and they have their own traditions, from the shoes until the cap. And their own food, their own tradition, their own. So they don't necessarily need, the world now is globalized, but they don't necessarily need an outsider to live on. Morocco is the same. You find from the dress, with different dresses, to the food, it's one of the top cuisines in the world. It's also can buy in a way clothes. And these countries which have very strong cultural heritage, strong cultural importance in the mindset of their people. We also need to showcase that mobility exchange and to have more interactions with the people, because only by seeing outside you know the value of your own country. And then is something which hurts me sometimes. That's you find your own people who are much more, they mean in your own country than the outsiders, because when they come, you know the value of your country. So we need to appreciate and then see the values, and then there are so many things to see in India. I have traveled extensively and I still feel baby crawling because I haven't seen what I should have said and I have seen. Even in Karnataka, it's quite a lot of things to see. So these elements, this culture should be kept, should be preserved, should be safeguarded, but at the same time should be seen and then shown to the others.
Yeah, it's enough.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಭಾಳ ಸಂತೋಷದ ವಿಷಯ ಅಂದರೆ ಮೊನ್ನೆ ಸ್ಯಾಟರ್ಡೇ ದಿವಸ ಆನರಿ ಕಾನ್ಸುಲೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ಡಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೊರೊಕೊ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರತಾಪ್ ಮಧುಕರ್ ಕಾಮತ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟೆಡ್ ಆನರಿ ಕಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ಡಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೊರೊಕೊ ಇನ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ. ಸೊ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮತ್ತು ಮೊರೊಕೊ ಎರಡು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸ್ bilateral relations plus other issues handle ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ I will be responsible over here. So any questions ನೀವು ಕೇಳಿದರೆ I will be.
ಇದರಿಂದ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಆಗ್ತದೆ?
ನೋಡಿ, ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಈಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. ಮೊರೊಕೊ ಮತ್ತು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ IT, chemicals, agriculture, these are the three main sectors where there are already several companies which have tied up and which are functioning. ಇದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಟೂರಿಸಮು ಸಹ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ 2 days ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಕೆಲವು ವಿಷಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ನೋಟ್ ಡೌನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದು ಫರ್ದರ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದ ಸಹ ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಐ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಟ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್. ನಾನು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ವಿಸಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಇಮೇಲ್ ಇದೆ. ಅವರ್ ಮೊರೊಕನ್ ಕಾನ್ಸುಲೇಟ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆನ್ ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ರೋಡ್. ಸೊ ನಾನೆಲ್ಲ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸ್ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಯು ಆರ್ ಫ್ರೀ ಟು ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಅಸ್.
ತುಂಬ ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶಗಳಿಂದ ಬಂದವರೆಲ್ಲ ಇಂಡಿಯಾಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ವಿಶ್ವಗುರು ಅಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಅವಾಗಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಡೆವಲಪಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿಯಾಗಿ ವೇರ್ ವಿ ಲ್ಯಾಕ್.
ನೋ, ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಆ ಥರ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. ಡೆವಲಪಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ದಟ್ ಥ್ರೆಶೋಲ್ಡ್. ಪ್ರೈಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮೋದಿಜಿ ಸಹ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ $3 trillion ಎಕಾನಮಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಟುಡೇ ವಿ ಆರ್ ದ 5th largest in the world. We are above UK also today. So I think developing ವಿಷಯ is I don't think is a right term. We have crossed and we are growing even further. Being the 5th largest economy in the world is a matter of great pride. ತುಂಬ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆ ವಿಷಯ ನಮಗೆ.
ಸರ್, ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ಗೆ ಎಂಬಸಿಯಿಂದ ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ಗಳಿವೆ.
ಸಾರಿ, ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿ?
ಎಂಬಸಿ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ಗಳೇನು? ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ?
ಅದು ಇನ್ನು ವಿ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಲಾನಿಂಗ್. ಮೇ ಬಿ ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ I'll be better equipped to handle it later.
ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಬ್ ಓಪನಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಯಂಗ್ಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಕೋವಿಡ್?
Yes, in fact, IT is very big in Morocco, and in the country of Morocco, like how we have the Aadhaar card, the UAIDI, that is being implemented, and there are very close relations with companies in Bangalore and Morocco, and this process is going on. So definitely there are several job openings in the future.
You have any tie-up with Bangalore companies and Morocco?
Yes, Infosys, Mahindra, Tata, they have already tied up, and lot of IT work is already happening. ಇ ವೀಸಾ ಅಂದರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ನಾರ್ಮಲಿ ನಾವು ವೀಸಾ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಪಾಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಂಬಸಿ ಕಳಿಸಿ ವಿತ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನಾವೊಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ವೀಸಾನ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಪ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ರಿಮೂವ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ಸೆವೆರಲ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸ್. ಸೊ ಮೊರೊಕೊ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ರಿಮೂವ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ಸೊ ನಾವೀಗ ಆಲ್ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ನ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ನಾವು ವೆಬ್ಸೈಟಿಂದಾನೇ ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ if we share the details within 72 hours visa will be provided. It does not require a stamping on the passport.
ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ನಗರಗಳನ್ನ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕವರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ನಂಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ.
ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವ ಥರ, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಅಂತ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಆ ಥರ ಯಾವ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗಳನ್ನ ನೀವು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕವರ್
ಆ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ನನ್ನ ಜೂರಿಸ್ಡಿಕ್ಷನ್ ಇರೋದು ಈಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ. ಸೊ
ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
Calcutta there is a honorary consulate, and Mumbai there is an honorary consulate. So this is the third honorary consulate in India. Thank you very much.
ಹಾಯ್ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಪ್ರಜಾ ಮಾರ್ಗ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಚಾನಲ್ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆಯುವಂತ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು ಕೆಟ್ಟದನ್ನ ನಿರ್ಭಯವಾಗಿ ಹೊಸ ತರ
ಸಿನಿಮಾದ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ಸ್ಗಾಗಿ
ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ,
ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಲೈಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಪ್ರಜಾ ಮಾರ್ಗ ನ್ಯೂಸ್, ಇದು ಜನಸಾಮಾನ್ಯರ ಧ್ವನಿ.